And that's the end of the first half. As the teams head to the locker room, the Spartans lead the Bulldogs by a score.
You guys stink.
Geez, Coach, we're only down a couple of points.
No, I mean you guys really smell. You need to hit the showers. And here, I got every one of you new bars of soap from the Sterling Soap Company. Each bar is artisan crafted using natural ingredients and essential oils. They also have shave soaps, colognes, beard balm, and a whole lot more. Now get in there.
But Coach, we have another half to play.
I don't care. I can't stand to be around you.
A few minutes later.
All right, bring it in tight. You guys are still playing terrible, but you're smelling great out there. Now listen, you're going to need to stock up for the rest of the season. We got a lot of tough games left. So go to sterlingsoap.com after the game. That's STIRLING soap.com. You got that?
Yes, Coach.
Great. Sterlingsoap.com on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sterlingsoap.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today, I will continue my discussion with Harv Aronson, both teams.
And, you know, all the hype these days is about who's in the first round. You have to get a first rounder. If you look back at the Steelers, and I'm sure it's probably the same way with Dallas, that a lot of their players came in like the 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And back then we had like 17 rounds.
Yeah.
Some of those guys were in like 13th, 14th round, but they came out as huge stars.
Yep.
So it had nothing to do with first round.
No.
It had to do with finding talent.
And a lot of them came from small, unknown colleges.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cowboys and the Steelers both had tremendous scout. The Cowboys, of course, had Gil Brandt, who was a master at going out and finding unknown talent. And the Steelers had a guy very similar to Gil Brandt, probably not as well known. I believe his name was Bill Nunn. Bill Nunn.
Yep, that's who it is.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic scouter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They know how to find. I mean, John Stallworth, one of the greatest receivers ever, came from Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
Who ever heard of that?
Yeah.
So yeah, they knew how to find talent. Chuck Noll was an expert on that anyway. He knew how to judge talent. And his very first pick was Joe Green.
Yep.
So there you go. And he built the defense around him.
That's right. And speaking of Joe Green, I wanted to talk a little bit about Super Bowl 13. And since I'm wearing a Tony Dorsett jersey, the one thing I still can't get over it after all these years, and Joe Green commented on this, I don't understand why Tony Dorsett was running wild in the first quarter, and then they just for some reason stopped giving him the ball. And I still don't understand it after all these years. And I remember Joe Green commenting on it, and Joe Green even said, I was so relieved when they stopped giving Tony Dorsett the ball because we couldn't stop him.
Yeah, I remember watching Tony Dorsett when he was playing, of course, in my hometown, University Pittsburgh. And I'll never forget watching him play against Notre Dame, and he had like 333 yards rushing, and I was like, God, this guy's amazing.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite running backs. So fun to watch.
Great player.
Such a small guy, too. I don't think he ever weighed more than maybe 185 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
But
I have a funny story about Tony Dorsett. My father knew a professor at the University of Pittsburgh, and he was talking to her about one of her classes, and she said, there's one guy that never comes to class, and I don't know what the deal is, but his name is Tony Dorsett. And he says to her, don't you know who he is? She goes, all I know is he doesn't come to class.
That is funny. But
so
I remember that Tony Dorsett during his career would sometimes get frustrated because he felt like they should have given him the ball more than they did. They usually didn't give him the ball more than 20 times a game. And Tom Landry explained that was because of his size, his small size. He was afraid, he wasn't like an Earl Campbell or a Larry Zonka where you could give him the ball 30, 35 times a game. And Tony Dorsett, when he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, he finally did admit that, Tom Landry probably prolonged my career by not giving me the ball 30 times a game.
Yeah, I've heard it. I heard that before, that comment.
Right. But in that Super Bowl 13, I still get frustrated about that because if you look at that first quarter, he was just running wild. And the Cowboys...
Well...
Yep, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, yeah, I know we're talking about the 70s today, but of course the Steelers and the Cowboys played one more time in Super Bowl 30, and you're talking about frustration. Super Bowl 30, I can tell you for sure that Steeler fans in that year wanted to absolutely kill Neil O'Donnell after that game. So, because he basically blew it, and that game was close. We could have probably won that game had he not thrown those 2 lousy interceptions to Larry Brown. So I understand your frustration with Super Bowl 13. Believe me, Super Bowl 30 was extremely irritating for Steelers fans.
Yeah, I felt like the Cowboys...
30, I should say.
Yes. I felt very confident in that game. It seemed like the Cowboys had the game well in hand until they did that onside kick. And that kind of changed That seemed like it changed the whole momentum of the game.
But we Steelers fans were scratching our head going, O'Donnell, where are you throwing it to?
Yep.
Unreal. And then the next year he leaves the team and goes to the Jets, and their team goes 1-15.
Yeah.
So he got his.
I don't know if I'm correct. I don't know if I'm correct about this, but I believe the Cowboys and the Steelers are still the only teams that played each other 3 times in a Super Bowl.
That sounds probably right.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any teams that repeated against each other. Although this year, Seattle and New England are going to be playing for the second time. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be twice, but I can't think of 3.
No, not off the top of my head. I can't think of. So, you wanted to also talk about a little bit about the Olympics, the 1972 and 1976 Olympics.
Now I understand you're a big weightlifting fan, Mark.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes. I'm a weightlifter myself.
I was trying to find his name. Oh, you are?
I'm a weightlifter myself, but I'm also a big fan of weightlifting. Oh, you were going to say?
Because 1972, I remember. I was trying to find his name the other day, but I think it was it the Russian weightlifter that won the gold? Was it Alexiev or something like that? I can't remember his name now.
Vasily.
I was trying to find it, but I remember watching.
Vasily Alexiev.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
He was super heavyweight.
Yeah.
That was always the most popular weight class because people want to see the big guys because they lift the biggest weights. But I didn't realize when I was a kid watching that, I didn't realize that at that time anyway, there was 10 different weight classes. But they wouldn't show very much of the other weight classes. So, yeah, right. Alexiev became the first man to clean and jerk 500 pounds. In 1970.
I thought I had the name right, and I can still see him in my head. I know exactly what he looks like.
Yep.
So,
and he didn't.
But I was a big Olympic fan back then. Right. I was watching a lot of Olympics, and I don't watch it nearly as much as because it was really popular back then.
Oh yeah.
You get people competing now that are from a different country that are competing for a different country, and it wasn't like that back then.
No.
It was really United States and the world, other countries against each other. And that's not something you see anymore. as much.
No.
But yeah, that was a great Olympics, that one and the 76 that we're talking about. But of course, I mentioned in our emails about the 72 basketball team, and I still remember that like it was yesterday. I mean, what a crazy ending. For people that don't
Unbelievable.
know about it or have never seen it, you can get it on YouTube. Just look up 1972 USA Basketball Olympics, and you'll see what happened. But what an ending.
Yeah, you could find a lot of stuff about that game on YouTube because all kinds of stuff because it was highly, highly controversial. It was like there was...
And Mark, to this day, I think the men's silver medals, 'cause they got robbed of the gold, have still not claimed their silver medal. Anybody that's still alive, they refuse to take their medal.
I was going to mention that, and I absolutely loved that. I absolutely loved that. They're very adamant, and what's really, it almost kind of made me laugh is that several of those players, now I don't know if they're all still alive, but several of those players said they have it written into their will that when they die, no family member is to accept those silver medals. Absolutely prohibited their family members from accepting those silver medals. They will not accept them.
Well, good for them, because that was highway robbery. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in an amateur sport.
Yeah, that's the worst robbery ever, and unbelievable. And like you said, if you don't know about it, just go on YouTube and type it in. You'll see what we're talking about.
Exactly.
But of course, one of the big names from that 72 Olympics was Mark Spitz, the swimmer.
7 gold medals.
Unbelievable. 7 gold medals.
And the boxing team in 76 was amazing boxing team in 76. I was looking at it the other day, and I didn't realize all these guys were actually in it competing in 1976. But Sugar Ray Leonard, Michael and Leon Spinks, Big John Tate, and then Dwayne Bobbitt. And, of course, he lost in the finals to Teofilo Stevenson. I think it was actually semifinals. But Teofilo Stevenson never went pro, and that Cuban boxer, they always talked about putting him against Muhammad Ali.
That's right.
What would have happened? He was that great of a boxer, but it never happened.
No. I think, I'm sure the government had something to do with that. The communist government.
He's Cuban.
Yeah. But you had Mark Spitz in the 72 Olympics. Another big name was the gymnast Olga Korbut. And then, of course, that's the first Olympics I remember watching. I was 10 years old.
Yep.
I was a little too young for the 1968 Olympics. I was only 6, so I don't really remember that. 72 Olympics, I was just, I was beside myself because all the different sports you get to see, and the USA was doing so good. I was really, really into it. And then the whole thing got after that terrorist attack where they killed, I think, at least 11 or 12 members of the Israeli team. It just, it just took all the air out of it. They even thought about...
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. They even thought about, just not even continuing, but I think they took maybe 1 or 2 days where they didn't have any events, and then they went back to it. But it just took all the air out of it.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, that's something you'll never see again. That's for sure.
Well, I sure hope not. And then,
yeah.
like that.
And like you, that was my first Olympics as well.
Right.
But there was a lot more pride in your country back then than there is today. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, it was very exciting. And then the 76 Olympics, like you said, I think to this day there's never been a better USA boxing team than that team.
No. And unfortunately, I'm a huge combat sports fan, and I've been watching boxing since then, 72. And I still am a boxing fan today, but not quite as much because it's kind of lost its luster, and then mixed martial arts is kind of pushing it aside. But I was a huge boxing fan from 72 on, and I still follow a lot of boxing history, and I was a huge Mike Tyson fan. I watched his whole career. But yeah, that 76 boxing team was amazing.
They won 5 gold medals. And I believe 1 bronze medal. So I don't think we'll ever see a team like that again.
No, I mean, boxing is not as popular anymore. People aren't following it as closely as they did back then. I mean, that's the other thing about the 70s too. If you're a boxing fan, that was a great decade to grow up in because there was a ton of good fighters in the 70s. I mean, I could go on forever listing big names from that decade that all were very successful as pro boxers.
Yep, I was a big, just like you in the 70s, I was a big boxing fan. I was a big Joe Frazier fan. He was my favorite, and but not just the heavyweight division. All of the divisions had tremendous fighters. The middleweight division, all of them, all the divisions had great boxers. And
and I know our topic is mostly 70s today, but into the 80s too. A lot of these guys that were in the 70s, they really reached their stardom in the 80s.
Right.
Just for the record, Marvelous Marvin Hagler was my favorite fighter all time.
Oh, great fighter.
And I loved watching him fight. Oh, God. He was one of the best middleweights ever. Just an animal. And for those who haven't seen the Marvin Hagler-Tommy Hearns fight, you got to go on YouTube and watch that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that will be the greatest 3 rounds of fighting you'll ever see.
Yeah, it was just nonstop. They just went at it. They just went at it for 3 solid rounds.
Yep, they sure did. And I really think that Tommy Hearns is one of the most underrated fighters ever, anywhere.
Yeah.
He was just an unbelievable fighter.
A tremendous fighter. And yeah, like you said, even into the 80s, there was still a lot of great fighters. Larry Holmes, of course, in the heavyweight division. And, Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and on and on. The 70s and 80s just had so many great fighters. And then, like you said, after that, it kind of lost its luster.
Yeah. I think when Mike Tyson left the sport, it took away the star power. And they haven't had somebody stood out ever since.
Right. Yeah.
And that hurt the sport.
Yeah. I think
one last note about Hearns, and you mentioned Duran. If anybody wants to see one of the greatest, my favorite knockout of all time is Tommy Hearns knocking out Roberto Duran.
Oh, yeah.
If nobody's ever seen that, you've got to go search it out because he dropped him like a ton of bricks. I never thought that Roberto Duran would ever get knocked out cold, but he did on that night.
Yeah.
Unreal.
and he had a long, distinguished career, Roberto Duran. And like you said, nobody knocked him out. Nobody knocked him out.
No. Well, Tommy Hearns did with one of the hardest right hands I've ever seen. Unreal.
Yes. So many great fighters. And I could still remember, I guess, when I really got into boxing was, of course, the first Ali and Frazier fight. I was... I was 9 years old, and I guess that's really what triggered my interest in boxing. And from that time on, I became a big Joe Frazier fan.
Yeah, those 2 guys put on 3 classic fights, just wars. I mean, unreal. The 3 fights they did.
It's almost indescribable. It's undescribable.
Yeah.
they fought each other
Yeah.
for, let's say, 30, 40, probably about 42 rounds combined.
No.
And
I remember Ali saying in the second one, I think it was the second fight, he said he thought he was going to die. That's how brutal that fight was.
oh, unbelievable. Yeah, I was going to say 42 rounds combined, and there was only one knockdown.
Wow.
And even
And that was the
Frazier,
first fight.
that's right, the first fight. And even Frazier, who did not like Ali, and he even said, in a compliment to Ali, he said, I hit that man with punches that would have knocked down a brick wall, and he would not go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, Ali was the greatest ever. He would have found a way to beat anybody.
Well, in his prime,
He was just amazing.
In his prime, he was.
Yeah, in his prime.
He was just so fast and could duck those punches. So it was almost impossible to get a good shot at him, because he would just move his head back. His reflexes were just like inhuman.
And for your listeners that have never heard of the rope-a-dope, they should go look that up.
Oh yeah,
Because that was amazing.
that's how he beat George Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
Every thought.
I mean, that was ingenious what he did.
Yeah.
Unreal strategy.
Everyone thought Foreman was going to kill him.
But, yeah.
No.
Well, you see what Foreman did to Joe Frazier. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God.
He knocked him off his feet.
Yeah. Unreal.
So they thought Foreman was going to kill Ali, and Ali had the plan. He had a plan.
Yeah, that's why I say it was ingenious. I mean, to think of to that kind of strategy, and it worked to perfection. Unreal.
Yeah. Well, what else do you have there in your notes that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, we're just talking about the baseball teams in the 70s, because when I was going over my notes the other day, I was like, when I come to realize it, there was only 5 teams that won the World Series in the 1970s. Now, you don't see that anymore, because the Pirates won in 71, 79. The Reds won in 75, 76. The A's won 72 through 74. So it's kind of interesting that only 5 teams represented the World Series in those 10 years, whereas you get like almost a different World Series winner now every year. The teams were way more dominant back then, just like in football. But the A's might have been the the Reds 1975 might be the best team I've ever seen. They were phenomenal, from all starting 9 and their pitching staff. It's just a great team. And of course, the A's were like the most colorful team you'll ever see. They were a cast of characters.
Yes.
With Charlie Finley, the owner, and his yellow baseballs.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the difference.
But,
There was dominant teams, and now it's more about parity.
Yeah. And even in basketball, I mean, you had the Celtics and the Lakers dominating the NBA, and football, the teams we already mentioned. In baseball, these 5 teams in the 70s were dominant. But yeah, it was some really good sports back then, that's for sure.
And I would have to agree with you that 1975 Reds team might be, one of the best teams ever.
Oh yeah, they were just loaded from top to bottom.
They sure were. And they swept my team in the 76. The Yankees, 76 World Series, they swept them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were phenomenal. But the only thing I was actually going to mention, Mark, that was on my list of topics was, of course, you remember very well, that we were spoiled with 3 great sports shows in the 70s. Wide World of Sports, CBS Sports Spectacular, and NBC Sports World. Every Saturday you had tons of sports to watch, and it was just every Saturday it was there.
That's right. I think the one I watched the most was probably Wide World of Sports. They had a lot of boxing, and they would have replays, like, with the Frazier and Ali fight. It was only maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the fight they would show the replay of it. And, of course, I liked the weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great show.
And they covered every sport. I mean, all kinds of different sports.
They sure did.
I remember this. The cliff diving was very popular. I remember that. That was amazing. They even have bowling on there. But, it made Howard Cosell famous, that's for sure, with the boxing.
That's right.
It put him on the map. And I don't know if you recall seeing that interview he had before one of the Frazier-Ali fights with those guys in the studio. And Ali was playing with him.
Yep.
And he was just joking. He pulled out the little toy gorilla and started waving it at Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was not playing. He was taking it seriously. He wanted to kill Muhammad Ali in that studio that day.
Yep.
It was funny.
The only bad thing about television in the 1970s is that if you missed, if you were out doing something, you missed it. There was no way to watch it again. There was no way to record it.
Yeah, no VCRs, no Blu-ray players, no DVD players, but we did have our 8-tracks.
That's right.
Our cassette players.
Our 8-tracks. That was...
yeah. I bet you've asked a 13-year-old today, what's an 8-track? He'd be like, what? Well, what's that?
I still have my 8-tracks. And I found...
oh, no way.
Years ago,
wow.
Yeah, I still have them. And years ago, when it got to the point where they weren't selling 8-tracks anymore, I managed to find... This was probably at least 35 years ago. I went to a record store, and they had like these... they had these 8-track players that you could connect to your stereo. So I have one of those. If I want to listen to my 8-tracks, I can connect this 8-track converter to the stereo and still play the 8-track.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, I used to have a collection of VHS. When the VHS machines came out, I would start recording games off the television. Yep. But I had a friend of all places, Jersey, who was a big Steelers fan.
Uh-huh.
And I went to his house, and he had a closet filled of just Steeler games of VHS tapes. I mean, he had to have 50 to 100 VHS tapes, all Steeler games. So, yeah, that's what we used to do.
Yep.
But pretty much that's all I had on my list, Mark, for 70s. I mean, we've reflected, and like I said, I always will be willing to tell you that, or anybody wants to listen, that the 70s was absolutely the best decade to grow up in. For all reasons.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that I grew up during that era, because I kind of feel sorry for kids today that they don't have anywhere near the fun that we had.
No, and you know what ruined it? All these computers and cell phones and games. So they want to sit around and play video games, or sit on their couch and play EA Sports and Madden instead of being outside.
Yep.
And getting some physical activity.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Long gone.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, it was great reminiscing with you.
Absolutely, Mark. I appreciate you having me on your show, for sure.
I'm glad you were able to make it, and it was a pleasure having you. And well, maybe we'll do it again. I have a friend in Connecticut who's also a Cowboys fan, and he's he's around our age too, and he does podcasts with me sometime. So maybe sometime the three of us will get, because he's a very big Cowboys fan from way back, and we could just
maybe we can just have a show on Cowboys and Steelers, and that's
Cowboys and Steelers. Yep. Okay, that sounds good.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you having me again. Thank you very much.
Thank
it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Tell us one more time about your portfolio so the fans know where they can.
Sure. Anybody wants to read my articles, the podcast will also be posted there. All you do is click on the picture that you'll see on my portfolio will take you right to that site or to my podcast, but it is located at www.clippings.me/total sports recall, all one word, total sports recall. And you'll find my stuff there.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Harv.
You the same, Mark. Thank you
Okay.
very much again, and good luck on all your future shows.
You too. Thank you. God bless. Bye. That will conclude part 2 of our discussion with Harv Aronson. I want to thank Harv for being on the show. We hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.